Hello, everybody. Thanks for showing up after lunch. As Ian mentioned, my name is Rahul Gautam. I have the pleasure of leading the media and entertainment consulting practice at EY here in London. I came here a couple of years ago from New York, where I have spent the majority of my career and have had the unique and interesting pleasure of working in the media space in both countries. I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes with you giving you a view of the TV landscape from our perspective. So I'll lay out a bit of what we see as the macro trends. I will, in rapid fire, run through a set of moderately nauseating slides with lots and lots of numbers on them, because that's what we do at EY. And then I'll connect it at the end, hopefully, to why we certainly believe that this is an amazing time to be in the TV or the video world. It is complicated, it is hard, but there has really never been a more fun time to be in this space. And why we think everybody in this room is actually going to be a part of sorting out who the winners are going to be, because I know I'm probably preaching to the converted here. It is the data and the analytics that is going to separate the winners from the losers in this space. And we feel pretty strongly about that. So I'll spend the next 8-10 minutes on that and set up what will be a fantastic, hopefully 90 minutes for you. So at a macro level, I think we're seeing very clearly three trends disrupting the TV space that's creating where we are today. Firstly, while platforms are proliferating and growing, what we're seeing that doing very clearly is driving increased demand for content. We're absolutely seeing, as I'm sure you guys are as well, that people are consuming more and more content, not less of it. So the demand for the stuff that we're building and that you're building has never been higher, which is a fantastic place to be. Now, while technology is also obviously being disruptive and causing some people some pain in the industry, it is also representing and introducing massive opportunities. The ability to identify customers, to innovate new ad models and new economic models has never been stronger than it is today, and it is ironically because of many of those same disruptive technologies that we have access to. And then finally, it's a term that we started using 4 or 5 years ago. We fundamentally believe it is the decade of the customer, particularly in media, particularly today. Customers are absolutely in the driver's seat. They have high demands. Their demands are changing, and it is incumbent upon all of us to figure out how, as an industry, we're going to service that customer. And pretty clearly, all of the data has shown whoever can do that most effectively is going to win the hearts and the minds of those customers. So the customers is absolutely in control. So here come some of the numbers to underscore a bit of what we've said. So this is a view of what we look at a macro level to just confirm what we already know, which is that content consumption and content demand is going way up. On the left side of the chart, you'll see a composite there that's basically showing connected devices, right? The conclusion there is it's going up nicely, and that's great. And clearly, it's going to plateau a bit. There's saturation in some of the bigger markets, but connected devices are going way up. What's actually interesting is if you look at the correlation between what's happening on the left and what's happening on the right. On the right side of this page, you've actually got a composite that's showing content consumption. And actually, content consumption is growing at a more increasing rate than is device penetration, right? We see these two pictures and we smile. We say, that's really cool, right? People have the ability and the opportunity to access content in more places, which is what they want. And people are choosing, when they have that opportunity, to consume more content than they used to. It's a really positive sign, very encouraging sign for the industry. But right, what are all the headlines, right? Everybody keeps saying, oh no, people have stopped watching TV, right? This is a picture of where I'm from in the US, and a very clear picture that 2 years ago people were saying, oh, TV is dead. What's going to happen to the future of TV? There's a clear negative trend in terms of how much time people are spending watching TV. Absolutely true, but it doesn't actually tell the whole picture, as you guys know. When you look at what's happening with video consumption and you layer on top of what's happening on linear with digital platforms, you actually see content consumption is going up, right? And in fact, digital and online content consumption can add up to 50% of viewing on any given week. Again, another really positive trend and another really positive sign that this is a great space to be in for all of us. If we look at how that translates into some more trends on a global level, what we're seeing very clearly is a decline in revenue coming from more traditional streams in the media space. So traditional revenue is absolutely going down from a revenue standpoint. We see that pretty clearly, but it's actually, that decline is being outpaced by the increases in revenue being generated by digital sources, whether that is digital media, whether that is access to digital content, whether that is devices. The growth in digital media is driving all of the opportunity that's in front of us, and frankly, why we're all sitting here in the room. So again, more positive signs that whether you look at this at a macro level globally across digital trends, whether you look at this in the US, whether you look at this from what's happening with device penetration and content consumption, the story is all pretty consistent. If we dig down into the UK and look at how UK content consumption is shifting, again, more data to show what we kind of know. Penetration for the VOD platforms has been very significant over the past couple of years. Clearly, there's a view that that's going to tailor off a bit as the country slowly gets into some level of saturation. But fortunately, what we're seeing, again, similar to the first picture around what happens when you give people access and the opportunity to view content when they want it, they choose to view more of it, right? On the right, not surprisingly, you can probably see the growth is a bit different between phones versus tablets, and I think that's pretty clearly probably the nuance of the phablets coming out, right? The quality and the size of screens on phones going up. The net result is the same. People love consuming content on mobile devices. People love consuming content on video on demand. People love content, they just want it when they want it, right? We all know that. Here's the data to prove it all. From a revenue standpoint, this is an attempt to predict where we see the ad market going over the next 10 years here in the UK, right? And the good news is, while there's been a whole lot of volatility over the past 10 years, we've had a couple of good years more recently, we actually don't see we see volatility settling down. We don't see massive growth, but we do see consistent growth over the next 5 to 10 years. So that's a really good sign for ad-funded models. We also think that as innovation continues to drive in the video on demand space, that will introduce, as it has already begun to, entirely new opportunities to monetize content and video across different platforms. So again, whether you're looking at it from a consumption point of view or whether you're looking at it from the monetization point of view, we're really bullish these days about what's happening in TV and what's happening in video. When we surveyed last year in one of our Capital IQ surveys that we ran, what the implication of all of this was for media executives, and we asked them what their priorities were for both their core businesses as well as what they were looking to do from an acquisition standpoint. Not surprisingly, driving the globalization of their business was number one. I now own content and I've got rights. I want to be able to sell that anywhere I can in the world because I've got the tech now to go do it. That's fantastic. And digital is still very high in the agenda. So all positive signs, whether you're looking at the data, whether you're talking to executives, the opportunities presented by these disruptive technologies in the media space present phenomenal opportunity for all of us to go have a lot of fun and deliver really compelling experiences. This is the third leg of the stool, and the complexity that's introduced by the consumer. It is the decade of the customer. They are in control, and the challenge for all of us is we are fickle, right? We have very high expectations, and they're changing a lot. You can see, customers or consumers and viewers, they're like chameleons, right? They keep changing their preferences and their behaviors and their desires. They have high expectations about when they want stuff and where they want it. We're growing increasingly more tech savvy. We're growing, as we're getting more tech savvy, we're actually growing more technology agnostic as well. I'm more comfortable now, whether it's an SVOD platform or an AVOD platform or catch-up or linear. I'm actually pretty cool, as are most of us, watching content across a whole litany of modes and mechanisms, right? While that presents fantastic opportunity, it also obviously drives a lot of complexity. So where does this put us all? In our view, the answer to solving a lot of these challenges and addressing a lot of these opportunities is going to come back to data and analytics. And it's going to come back to really embracing the role that data can play in driving decisions within organizations. Everything from the fundamentals to how do I organize myself, how do I prepare my organization to grow in this new global marketplace that exists, down to how do I understand who my customers are and how do I understand how my content is performing across that litany of platforms and litany of devices that exist. So we have up here, the kind of four very simple things to that we'll typically advise a lot of our clients to do. The simple stuff on the right, you've got to get rid of the rear view mirror stuff and simplify and frankly stop doing as much of that as you possibly can. Begin to develop predictive modeling capabilities, and what we've seen when we've worked with clients in these spaces is you'll never get the right answer, you'll never predict the future, but what you do in that journey and along that journey is you massively increase the IQ of the organization about what drives performance. The models are not going to be right, but what you learn by failing is identifying what matters and what doesn't matter. A huge opportunity to increase the IQ and the understanding of what data can do within organizations. Democratize access to data. Most media companies that I talk to today, the core competency of data and analytics is still resident in a team or maybe two teams. It is still considered a specialty expertise. We won't move forward as a sector until everybody in the organization has the access and the confidence to manipulate that data, to actually make decisions and interrogate on their own terms in whatever their job or function might be. And then finally, consolidate customer audience and platform data. And you'll hear later on today about how a number of organizations are already doing this, but clearly creating that 360-degree view of what customers and content looks like is absolutely critical. The good news is survey data says a lot of media companies are already making good headway and good strides. Everybody here in the room can decide for yourselves how true this is, but certainly when you ask senior executives how savvy they and their organizations are with data, they like to say that they're doing really well. And what we take from this is actually whether it's true or not, at a minimum, what it indicates is they recognize it's really important. So if they're exaggerating, they're doing it for all the right reasons if we take our optimistic view. So what does this all mean for us? Right, in our mind, there's three things that video companies need to do to be successful. You always need compelling content, you need a more sophisticated user experience, and we need better measurement than we have today. And we believe at the heart of answering all of this is data and analytics. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your session.
Thanks, Raoul.
Yeah.
You're possibly not quite off the hook yet. The format we want to use for the rest of the session, the panelists, the presenters will also be on the panel, but Raoul's actually not on our panel. So are there any questions specifically for Raoul before he... Oh, yeah, Danny. I mean, that man sitting down there.
Hi. Hi, Raoul. Daniel Toole from IBM. So firstly, thank you for that. That was very compelling, and I think we'd agree with a lot of the points you made there. I just had one area I wanted to explore your perspective because I have a different reference point. On the ad model, which is kind of fundamental to your ad or subs, from my memory back in the day, a 3-month lag of GDP decline, recession, exactly followed by an advertising decline. Do you see that cycle's broken, or are we still in a cyclical ad economy?
I think what gives us confidence in the projections we have in the ad market is less of a reliance on the traditional linear programming and the way ads are sold there, and the emergence of VOD platforms and personalization and the opportunity to drive better CPMs that way. So I don't think the sector is going to be immune to changes in the economy. We just think it's going to be less susceptible as there's more innovation and frankly more analytics in how to serve more relevant ads and earn more money for it.
Any more questions, Raoul? You're hanging around, aren't you?
Yeah,
so
I'll
if
be
there's
here.
anything at the last minute, then
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.